it is a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot of vocabulary. It's a lot of concepts that go with that vocabulary, how the endomembrane system interacts. The endosymbiotic theory. What even is that? Right? So I'm giving you a day without a quiz, because clearly this would be a good day for a quiz, but, right? Yeah, get your stuff together. Good, so now I have to tell you something about that coloring page, which is that kind of, I have to say that diagram, and this diagram, and all the diagrams that show you one of each organelle or two of each organelle in a cell are not real. They are not, in you at least, maybe in a one-celled organism. Maybe they've got a few of each organelle because they need everything. But your cells are so specialized. Your cells could never live on their own. They depend on all your other cells, right? They do one job and they do it super well. And so what your cells look like is like a way lopsided overabundance of some cell parts and almost none of the stuff they don't need. There are cells in your body that don't even have a nucleus. Red blood cells lose their nucleus as they mature. They're basically just dumb oxygen trucks. Just carry oxygen. That's all they do, right? Because of that hemoglobin they've got in them. So that's something we need to start thinking about. Is okay, if that's true, then what are these cells going to look like? Okay, I can give you a job of a cell, and maybe you can tell me what organelle they might have a ton of, right? Because of the job that they're doing, because you know the jobs that these cell parts do. So that is one way I am going to make sure that you know what cell parts do. Is I'm gonna give you a worksheet here in a minute that has actual specialized human cell types with information about the jobs they do, and you got to pick out for me the organelles that they're going to have a bunch of. That's thing one I'm going to do to make sure you have this. Thing two I'm going to do involves your your dream house, and your coloring page. So get both of those out now, please. And I would honestly write down some version of this in your notes if you didn't. This is something I want you to be able to refer to. So write that down somewhere. So you've got this beautiful dream house that you've labeled all the parts I asked you to label on. Did you write down the parts of the dream house you needed on the back of the drawing thing? Or did you write them down somewhere else? Okay, wherever you wrote it down, it's good to have. Because I'm about to give you another list. Because what you are going to need to do, anybody ahead of me here? I know some of you sort of figured out that I wasn't just letting you draw your dream house. What are we going to do?
Connect cell parts.
Yep, we're going to connect your dream house, the parts that I made you include. We're going to do an analogy, okay? An analogy is comparing something to something else, and it's an incredibly powerful learning tool that shows whether you understand how something works. If you can say, I understand this thing so well, this complicated system so well, that I can compare it to another complicated system and tell you which parts match up with which parts function-wise, then I know you understand it. So that's the idea here. And your coloring page comes in handy because now, not only are you going to label your house parts with the names of the cell parts that match, you're going to color code them. You're going to color your house parts the same color as the cell parts that do the same job. Does that make sense? So here is the list and the instructions. You color the house part the same color as the analogous cell part on your coloring page, and you write the name of the cell part under the name of the house part, and here is your list of 7, because you did the house and not the city. The city has 8 parts. You only have 7. That's your list of the 7 parts that need to correspond with the 7 house parts. Write those down maybe on the back of your house sheet. Chew on those directions for a minute. I'm going to pass out your cell specialization worksheet. So the cell specialization worksheet, just quick side trip here, that's going to be due tomorrow. It looks easier than it is. It's multiple choice. There's 2 blanks for each of the 5 questions, but it's going to require some understanding of cell parts and what they do. So make sure you understand your cell parts. Maybe give yourself a quick refresh through the notes before you get started on this, and you should be okay. So that's due tomorrow. This whole shebang here, including, I'm just going to have you sort of staple together the coloring page and the city with everything colored and labeled and matched. That will be due on Thursday. And I'm going to give you the rest of the period to work on both of those things so that I don't overload you. Good? But in doing that, I expect that you work on both of those things. Please do not communicate with each other about the answers. This is my way of making sure you understand this stuff. Please don't be sharing answers to either of these things. I need to know that you can figure out the connections here, not that you and your neighbor can team up and do half and half. Okay? Cool? All right. Good luck.